Mr. Dan Sheehan, Athletic Director of Monticello High School. And Mr. Sheehan, I understand your role in a state organization, not necessarily just Monticello schools, but a state organization, has basically kind of put you at the forefront of a high school football playoff reform discussion. Just tell us about your role with this organization, and then we'll get into the proposal. How about that to get us started, sir?
That works. Thanks for having me on, Seth. Always appreciate talking to you. So my role this year with the Illinois Athletic Directors Association is I am in a 3-year term. Last year I served as the president-elect, and I'm currently the sitting president for the Illinois Athletic Directors Association. And we've got a great relationship with the IHSA. And, my role this year is basically to lead the state in terms of the state conference, professional development, and our organization. So very honored to have that role within our state. And so that's kind of how this came about. Members of the association reached out to me, hoping that the IHSA Football Ad Hoc Committee would bring forth a proposal, which unfortunately did not happen.
Got it. So what is the proposal at present? How does it change, or how does it impact playoffs? How about some of those things?
Okay. So some of the things that we've heard statewide, football discussions about how to fix football has been going on for 10 plus years. Some of the things that the drive for 5 is the biggest issue. It's football in Illinois is special. You have to qualify. There's no doubt about it. Football is the only sport in Illinois that not everybody gets a postseason action. So that's a big deal. And I understand that it's an honor, it's a privilege, you work for it. But unfortunately, with football and the involvement in a community with the marching band, the cheerleaders, the drive for 5 is a big deal because 5 is typically the number that gets you in the playoffs. So my proposal, the proposal that's been put up with members from up north, central Illinois, down south, a couple conferences, coaches do not want to lose a week of football. So we're going to have the same start date. We're going to have the same end date. Same state championship. None of that gets changed. We are going to maintain a 9-week regular season, which everybody, coaches across the state, wants to do. The other thing that this proposal does is it allows schools and districts local control. So we can keep the tradition of conferences. The Illini Prairie Conference can stay intact. We don't want to go districts. We don't want to go divisions. We don't want a dictated schedule. So 9-week regular season, we can keep conferences, and the proposal will expand the playoffs by 128 schools. This will create greater opportunities for teams, cheerleaders, marching bands, communities, and ultimately what it does, in my opinion, is it eliminates the drive for 5, it stabilizes conferences, and encourages schools to potentially schedule a tough opponent. Like, you might be more willing to go outside the box instead of trying to find a way to get 5 wins. Now, if you can get in the playoffs at 3 and 6, you might consider playing somebody that's a class above you, or somebody in the same class that's traditionally really good.
So, Mr. Sheehan, when it comes to this proposal, you talk about expanding the playoff by 100-some teams. How do you schedule that? Because that sounds like it adds, across 8 classes, maybe it adds a game, 2 or 3 games. How do you schedule this? How does the playoff then work, I guess? Are there buys? Are there, because there's so many things with this.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. Address that, I guess.
So the IHSA provided, they did 2 years, 2023 and 2024. They provided brackets of what this would look like. It would be, each class would be increased to 48. So from 32 to 48. And then your top 16 teams would get a bye. So your top 16, so basically in a 3A bracket, which we're very familiar with, your top 8 in the north would get a bye, and the top 8 in the south would get a bye. In 7A and 8A, when they do they would go 1 through 48, the top 16 teams would get a bye. And so I think a lot of people, some of the misconceptions out there is, well, we don't need a 9-0 playing a 3 and 6. Well, if you look at the brackets, if you want to call them a play-in game, you're going to see like the 16 plays and the 17, that's 5 and 4 versus 5 and 4. You might get a 13 versus 20 matchup, which is 6 and 3 versus 3 and 6. So it's not that mixed match. We're not going 9-0 versus 3 and 6 right off the bat. there's that play-in game, very similar to boys basketball, girls basketball, volleyball. There's that what we call in the IHSA in the postseason is your quarterfinal game.
Yeah.
Correct. So you're going to have that first round, which would take place week 9, and then the playoffs would begin week 10. So the biggest change in the schedule is we would eliminate scrimmage night. Football games would have to begin on what we know as traditionally week 0.
Got it. Well, and yeah, to your point, that 9-0 versus a 3-6 or a 4-5 matchup. I know safety of kids was always at the forefront. But to the flip side of that, Dan, I mean, you might have a week 9 matchup where you've got an 8-0 versus an 0-8. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And since in my 17 years, I've never heard of anybody canceling week 9 because we're 0-8. They still play the game.
Right. For sure. So with this, do you have to adjust, future end dates? I mean, does the end date of the football season get altered at all? Based off of this, it doesn't sound like it, but how about that?
Nope. It's the same start date, same end date, but unfortunately, and this is where the only negative that I came up with this proposal was that you have less practices to start the season, and I identified that as a negative, which means like right now, let's say there's 14 practice days, kids have to make 12. We would drop down to in the proposal, we would drop down to kids would be required they would have to complete 10 practices. But the downside of that is, I guess the contrary to that is our kids come in bigger, faster, and stronger than they did 10 to 15 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Our varsity kids are coming in ready to play. We're using our 20 contact days. We're using our 4 days of weightlifting. These kids are coming in. They're going through the acclimatization policy all summer long.
As are most programs, right?
Exactly. So when we come in to say, okay, now we have to shut back down. Like you can go helmets, shoulder pads. You can go thud. You can practice in another school in the summer, but then we have to slow it back down when school starts. And we have to go 3 days of helmets. Then we have to go helmets and shoulder pads. So I think there's some give and take in that policy. And I'm willing, and I talked to the IHSA, and I'm willing to even say like, hey, if we have to make modifications for our younger kids, and maybe they go by the scrimmage rules and have a modified first game since they're not coming in possibly at the same level as a varsity player. I'm open to those types of discussions. I think I'm willing to work with the Sports Medicine Advisory Committee because that's the biggest change. And I think that's the current sticking point is by us starting week 0, we did move the game up 1 week.
Well, okay, Dan, so to that end, where does this proposal stand now and what's next? I mean, it doesn't sound like this is in the IHSA's hands right now, but I could be wrong. Where does it stand and what's still to come with this?
So the deadline for all bylaw proposals was last Tuesday. So it has officially been submitted. It was due on the 14th to the IHSA. So right now we've got a couple different things that go on statewide. The IADA, we're having division meetings. We have 7 divisions in the state of Illinois, and the IADA puts on division meetings. The IHSA participates, and that's kind of the intro to the bylaw proposals, discussions. And then starting in November, the first Monday in November, the Legislative Commission. Ultimately, the Legislative Commission is made up of about, I think it's 35 or 36 members of across the state of Illinois, made up of 7 athletic directors from each division, and then it's made up of either a principal or athletic director across the different districts in the state of Illinois. And so they'll meet on November 3rd. After November 3rd, they'll do a straw poll vote. They'll discuss all the bylaw proposals, and they'll do a straw poll vote. And then after November 3rd, there will be town hall meetings. I think there's approximately 16 town hall meetings that principals are required to attend throughout the state of Illinois. And at that town hall meeting, there'll be discussions about the bylaw proposals, and then there'll be a straw poll vote over every proposal. Mm-hmm. And then on November 24th, the Legislative Commission will come back together, reconvene, and they will look at the data from all the town hall meeting straw polls. And so ultimately, November 24th, the Legislative Commission will take an official vote on every bylaw proposal and determine if there's enough support across the state of Illinois then that will be put on the ballot. If it makes the ballot, then in December, it will be emailed out to every IHSA member school, and every school will get one vote on every bylaw proposal that makes the ballot.
How does this impact competitive balance in terms of non-boundary schools v. boundary schools?
This one will have no impact on that. I do know there is a bylaw proposal that was submitted on behalf of the Sangamo Valley Conference. Right now the multiplier is 1.65. The Sangamo did a lot of work, and they tried to submit a proposal that was based off of population density. So basically the area that you pull from. And the one that jumps out at me, I'll give you a quick example, is Decatur St. Teresa. Okay. They're pulling from 30 miles of Decatur St. Teresa. And the population density within the 30 miles is a lot different than Lombard Montini. Lombard Montini is pulling from 30 miles of Montini. You're talking millions of people, completely different than Decatur St. Teresa. So they had submitted over the last couple of years a proposal that would look at population density and where non-boundary schools are pulling their kids from. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, that has not passed. It did not. I don't know if it's made the ballot yet. So the Sangamo Valley Conference has brought forward a proposal that takes the 1.65 multiplier to 2.5 for non-boundary schools. So that'll be an interesting discussion. So they made a fixed number based on their research. I haven't seen the entire proposal. I'm excited to kind of read into it. I know they put a lot of work into it, but basically what that's doing is taking the enrollment and multiplying it by 2.5.
Got it. Very good. Well, Mr. Sheehan, on that note, did we miss anything in this discussion you want to put out there for us?
No, and I think the one thing that we just have to look for is I know people, you hear the word and you see on social media, oh, we're just watering it down. Well, the amount of conference shakeups that have happened over the course of the last 10 years is we all know, unfortunately, it's football driven. Teams and programs, because I talk about in fall sports, kind of dictate how the school year goes. When fall sports are successful, it's off to a great start. School excitement, the community. It's more than just football. You got bands, cheerleaders, community involvement. I do think by expanding the playoffs and allowing 3 and 6, 4 and 5 teams in, I just think ultimately it's more opportunities for kids. And I think there will be upsets. I think it'll be good for high school football. It's something that we haven't tried, but it's still not letting everybody in like all the other sports. Sure. Nobody complains about that bye in basketball. Nobody complains about that bye in other sports. So I think it kind of does mirror what other sports do. Yes, I know you don't get the week off, but I was talking to an AD up north just yesterday. I won't mention the school. And they're going to be they're looking to go 9-0 this weekend, and they've got a winnable game. And he stated to me they're an 8A school. They are not playing their quarterback. They're resting their quarterback on Friday night. He may play a quarter at max. But so those types of things are already happening. It's just not as evident in terms of resting players and buys.
Mm-hmm. Right. Very good. Well, Mr. Sheehan, thanks for laying that out for us, and we'll keep tabs with you on where this proposal is headed. Okay.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Seth.
Yep, that's Dan Sheehan, Athletic Director, Monticello Schools.